Hello viewers, Super GT here. A new season of FIA Manufacturers is upon us. Now previously, I've been a loyal boy to the British Isles and have gone with Jaguar and McLaren most recently. But I'm going to go full Grazie Ragazzi and choose the Grande Macchina Ferrari. Let's do what Sebastian Vettel has failed to do and bring them back to global domination. So here we have then the Group 3 and Group 4 Ferrari 458 beautiful machines, and it's time for Super GT to restore them to greatness once again.
Ferrari's back. Ferrari's back.
Grazie Ragazzi, grazie.
Okay, here we go then. So the first round, and yes, I've changed the colour of the car. I've gone with the Rinaldi Racing Green, which a certain Mr. David Perel drives for. But we find ourselves here at Red Bull Ring in the rain. Always going to be a tricky race, as you can see here. Of course, the grip is low, and again, apologies for the sound of being in a waterfall whenever I'm behind a car. There is that. So qualifying, of course, always first up. But now something we have to point out here is the change in format. And this is something that I've been really keen to see. And they've changed it so the races are a lot longer now. They were, at some points towards the end of last season, less than 15 minutes long in some cases. And sometimes just over 10 minutes, which really isn't that long. And sometimes the qualifying was actually longer than the race, which was really a bit silly. But now the races are approaching 30 minutes long in some cases, 25 minutes to 30 minutes, which I think is a really good length, and I'm really happy about that change. So, first up here, the qualifying lap, and this was my first lap we're seeing here, first proper timed lap. So coming up to the line, and we're going to cross the line in just a moment here, and go fourth place. A 3/4 of a second away from pole position at that point there, but fairly happy with that lap. Not the cleanest, didn't quite hook everything up, but we will have another chance again in a moment. I did just do a little tribute here to a certain Mr. Sebastian Vettel.
Sake. Sorry guys.
You know, when you're in a Ferrari, you've got to do Ferrari things. So we got the spin out of the way. So that's done. We don't have to do that now. We can do that maybe in the next race, but for this round the spins are done. This is my proper qualifying lap, braking just before the 150 board on the left hand side, and you really do have to get over this curb, get friendly with that curb, power to the outside, just dipping 2 wheels onto the curb. So the painted surface really does provide quite a lot less grip. You don't really want to go over that too much. Coming up then towards the next corner, we do have a bit of traffic to contend with. It actually moves over to the side, braking just before the 150 board once again. And we're coming up into turn 3, I believe, officially. Really gently on the power. This is something you want to have a look at during the course of this video. At the bottom of the screen, just to the right of the rev gauge, you've got this white bar. That is my acceleration. And you'll see throughout the course of the video just how gentle you have to be coming out the corners. So it takes a long time to get onto the full power. So for example now, just slowly onto 50% power. Not even 100% yet, not even 100% yet. Still not 100%, and then 100%. So it took ages, especially through that section there, as you are. I mean, in the dry, it'd be easily flat out, but in the rain, obviously you've got a lot less grip. And the Ferrari is a tricky car to control. So 1/4 of a second up on the best lap at this point here. So when it goes purple, that means you are that much quicker than the absolute best time. So sitting in 12th, courtesy of other people having displaced us down into that position from 4th. But we're on a good lap here through the final corner. Could this potentially be that pole position then? Because we were 1/4 of a second up through the second split. Coming up to the line, we're going to find out. It's a 45.9, and there it is. Sensational stuff, Lewis. Wait, that's the wrong team. I got up into first place. P1 Sebastian, that's the one we're looking for. P1 Sebastian. So pole position, we had enough time to go around for another lap. The Frenchman goes very close there, half a tenth away And eventually we come across the line to record a sensational pole position on our debut.
Yes, it's pole position. Yes, pole position. Ferrari's back.
Grande
Ferrari's
lavoro,
back.
grande macchina.
Numero 1.
So there we go, yet another fantastic intro there. None other than raving the night away with Mr. Kazunori Yamauchi. Doesn't get better than that, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, Super GT on pole. Just remember that moment there. Just remember that, because that's probably never going to happen again. So just remember where you were when Super GT poled it on his debut for Ferrari. Not even the best drivers managed that. So here we go then, 15 laps. It's a long race. Anything can happen, even though I'm on pole position. Obviously the best place to be at this point. But things can change. It's very difficult. As I said earlier, it's a tricky car to drive, especially when the tyre wear comes into effect. As this car suffers horrifically from rear tyre wear. And what that does is it gives you times billion% chance of spinning out when coming out of the corner on the power. So already going up to a 2-second gap instantly. So I'm not sure what happened there. Obviously the guys behind fighting somewhat or making a mistake through the first corner, and that's handed me a 2.4 second advantage or 2.5 second advantage immediately. Look at the map. I've streaked away from the pack, and that is very helpful, I would suggest, as we then come down into this tricky downhill braking point. Now, the one thing about this race, the main thing I think about the rain is just you really do have to you learn your braking points. It matters even more than it does in the dry, getting braking points dead right. If you go a tiny bit wide, you just lose 8 gazillion years of time. You lose so much more time. Everything's just so much more accentuated and dramatized in the rain. So any mistake you make is more costly in the rain than it is in the dry. So you've got to be really, really careful. So my main approach here is to really try not to think too much about the other people and just really just hammer home exactly what I know about where to brake, where to put the power on, which gear to use, and just really be absolutely as consistent as possible and just absolutely minimise those mistakes. So we're going to see if we can do that. 2.7 seconds the gap after lap 1. So that's a really good lap. We'll see how this lap goes here then, because I'm not really expecting to be able to pull out another 2.7. That's kind of ridiculous. I think the main reason that gap went up so quickly was they made a mistake, or they were fighting for that first corner. I gained most of that gap in just turn 1. So you can't really expect that to happen again. So just keep monitoring that gap. But you see there just how tricky that was as I come out of the hairpin at the top of the hill. The car just wanted to get loose, and it just shows you that at any moment during this race I could just spin out and it would be a full RIP moment. So you have to be super careful, super careful. Now, one of the things you might have noticed from the Gran Turismo World Tour when they did a wet race was the difference between the MR and the FR cars. So any car, I mean the Ferrari here, MR car, so the engine is at the back, and that really helps. A lot of the best cars you'll find in the rain are the MR cars. They tend to do a lot better here. They turn a lot better, they rotate better. Things like the Audi R8, cars like that just do a lot better when it comes to the rain, because you just need that rotation mid-corner. The Mercedes is an exception. That will always do well because it's such a well-rounded car. But the MR cars do tend to do better around the rain. And we did see sneaks of the Tokyo version on the recent World Tour event, so there may well be more rain tracks to come. So setting a 46.7 on lap 2, the guy behind setting a 46.099, so he was 0.6, more than half a second quicker on that lap. So that does not bode well at all. That gap went down from nearly 3 to just over 2 seconds. We're going to skip to lap 6 because the gaps kind of stayed very constant, and there's a very good reason for that. And the main reason was that I was extremely consistent. So that guy behind did a 46.099 on lap 2, and then if you look at my lap times here, I did a 46.1, 46.0, 46.2, 46.1. So I did 4 laps within pretty much 1/10 of a second. And it's that consistency which is so far keeping me in this position. So I'm still 2.2 seconds ahead. The pressure's there, you know, this guy isn't on me, he's definitely not right there within range to overtake. But when someone is lurking that close for that long, the pressure's most certainly on. You most certainly know that they're there. The race has been going for 11 minutes now, so I've had a lot of time to think about the fact that this guy is not going to give this one up, and he's not going to make it easy for me. We're on lap 7 now, so we're approaching the pit window. So if we were going to go for a pit stop during the course of this race, it would be about now, lap 7, lap 8, halfway into the race. But I feel as though the tyres are okay. The rear tyres are beginning to go. You can see a big slide there as we came out of that turn. But I think the time loss is not... the time loss is too big compared to what you'd gain back on fresh tyres. I think around here you lose about 9 seconds, 8 or 9 seconds going into the pit lane, but I'm not sure you've gained that all back because the lap times actually aren't too bad. We'll see what this lap time is here, as I have noticed on this lap that it has become harder. You see it on the exit there, sliding and almost losing control of the car. We're going to see how that affects our lap time as we cross the line here. Evo is still there, 46.1, so actually still a decent lap that. So we're still in a good position at this point here. The tyres are not showing signs of real degradations, it turns out. So through turn 1, and I noticed always when I was looking at the gaps coming out of turn 1, I was always gaining 2 or 3 tenths coming out of there. So I think my car was really good on the traction, and the other guy was tending to gain on me through this corner here, as the gap actually comes down to below 2 seconds for the first time. So he was actually gaining a little bit. So he was good through this corner, and the last 2 corners as well. He was really good through that section, but I think I was better through turn 1 and through turn 2 and 3. So I was better at the first half of the lap, he was better in the second half of the lap. So it was kind of, the gap was always jumping up and down depending on where we were on the track. But you see just how close he is. The pressure is still on, and I'm just chasing my maiden Ferrari win on the debut. That would be absolutely awesome if I can hold him off from here to the end, and just sliding a little bit wide of the apex. You do want to get all over that curb on that final corner, despite it being in the rain. Often you want to stay off the curbs in the rain, but you can do it if you're nice and careful. So at the start of lap 11, that gap is as small as it's been since, well, lap 1. Basically 1.7 seconds. It is coming down. The lap times are getting slower as well, so into the high 46s. In fact, lap 12 was a low 47, but it's a problem for me, the tyre wear, but of course it's a problem for everyone else as well. Maybe not to the same amounts, but the guy behind in his Renault, I think it's a Renault he's driving, I couldn't quite tell. I do believe it's the RS01, quite interestingly, which is not normally a great car, but he's doing a very good job of bringing that car home. The guy in third is someone to watch out for as well, because the gap from second to third was actually quite large, but now third place, just by looking at the radar, or looking at the map, sorry, they are slowly beginning to reel in second place, and this is most certainly not over. So at the end of 13, with 2 laps to go, the tyres are really beginning to die of death. Back into the 46s, the 46.9, so the consistency is good. So mostly high 46s now, or low 47s. So you can see the tyres have definitely begun to lose grip. The rear tyres is the main thing. The rear tyres are the main thing. And you're going to notice that coming out of the corners. You can't get on the power as early as you'd like. And another thing is really just braking a tiny bit earlier. Later in the race, I kind of readjusted my braking points just to brake a tiny bit earlier as your front tyres go off slightly, and therefore you have to brake earlier. So the gap up to 2.8, he's made a mistake. He has made a mistake. The pressure's still on because it is so easy to spin this car. The Ferrari is such a weird handling thing. Most MR cars do handle quite weirdly on this game, to be fair. For anyone who's driven that Audi R8, you know how kind of weird it is. It slides a lot, it drifts a lot. And it's the same with this. Maybe not to the same extent, but it is a strange handling car. And you mix that with the rain, of course, and it makes it doubly difficult to keep it on the black stuff. And it's around that corner that I spun it in qualifying, but we've made it through this time around. And you see there, almost a second down on our previous best lap time, or on our personal best lap time, sorry. So it's definitely getting a lot slower, but now it's just a case of managing this gap. Can I just survive for one more lap? If I can, I've got a win on the first race of the season. What an amazing way that would be to kick off our exhibition season campaign, as we then come across the line to begin lap 15 of 15. 25 minutes have passed. It's a long race. That's a lot of time for me to have made a mistake, but I would honestly say that I don't think I've really made many or any, to be honest. No glaring ones, no big ones, obviously going a tiny bit wide here and there. I've not been perfect, but at this point no catastrophic errors have been made. Up into the big braking zone, up the top of the hill. Gap still 2.6. The top three, us three, have really pulled away from the rest of the pack. It's a very spread out race now, and judging by the map, pretty much the entire circuit is covered by different players, as we've spread right out during the course of this race. Coming down into this corner, we have a spinner. Just shows you how easy it is, especially late in the race, to lose a bit of concentration. That guy spun it out. Luckily, he doesn't really distract me. I know backmarkers are ghosted now, but it's still a distraction to have someone right in front of you, especially when you haven't had anyone right in front of you for the whole race. So anything different will really just put you off. So luckily we just get past him quite easily and not have to worry about him. So through this corner here, that was actually quite a big slide. That could have been quite dangerous. So I just backed off, kept it nice and calm, and we're going to bring this home with 2 corners to go. The guys behind haven't quite been able to live with the pace. Well, they have, but maybe just not the consistency. They've just been a little bit too far back because of that error on lap 1. So we're going to come through for a sensational debut victory for Ferrari. Absolutely scintillating stuff.
P1, another flag in Maranello, well done!
Grazie, forza Ferrari! Grazie mille, grazie ragazzi, grande lavoro.
Ferrari's back, Ferrari's back.
There we go, guys. Absolutely epic stuff. I didn't think that would be possible, but I've actually not bottled a race in a brand new car, which was tricky to drive in tricky conditions. We've brought it home with nearly 2,400 points. That is my highest I've ever got in an FIA race. That's the most I've ever got in one race. And that puts me 10th in EMEA, which is pretty crazy. It's going to be hard to keep that up, but we'll see what we can do for Ferrari in this season. But wow, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Let me know your thoughts on the video, on the race, and let me know how you did in your first FIA race of this season. But that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support on the channel. Much love to everyone. Much love to all my members and all the patrons, of course, for their continued support. But thank you to all of you who just tune in and watch all the videos. But that is it from me. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.